Obtaining a powerful weapon is one of the most satisfying things you can experience in a video game. Sometimes it takes a great deal of effort to get, but once you do, it's all worth it as you're free to do whatever you want with your new and OP toy. However, getting your hands on a rare and powerful item can sometimes be only half the battle, as one little mistake can destroy your prize forever. I'm Sai for WhatCulture.com, and here are 10 powerful video game items you accidentally ruined. Number 10. The Frying Pan, Fable. Despite its inconspicuous appearance, the Frying Pan from Fable is one of the best weapons for spellcasters in the game, as it comes with the highest number of augment slots, allowing you to customize it with all the powerful upgrades that you want. The way to obtain the pan is by completing a scavenger hunt quest, and unfortunately the more impatient player might accidentally ruin the pan's potential in the process. The quest requires your character to follow a chain of 6 treasure clues in order to find the location of the item. However, since the location is set, if you've done the quest before or simply looked up the location online, you can technically find the pan without using the clues. Technically being the operative word here, because the frying pan you dig up by skipping the quest objectives is a placeholder replica that doesn't come with any of the augments that make the actual pan so powerful. The real deal only appears if you do the quest properly, so if you thought you could be smart and cheat the system will cheat you right back. Fair to say you probably deserved that one. Number 9. Golden Eggs, Resident Evil 4 2023. In Resident Evil 4, you have a diverse range of weapons that prove that you're a bad enough dude to save the president's daughter. However, on top of the obvious things like shotguns, pistols, and rocket launchers, the game also includes a secret Easter egg weapon that is capable of downing a major boss in the game in 2 strikes, and coincidentally it also happens to come in the shape of 2 golden eggs. Why don't you like this video if you are one of the rare players of Resident Evil 4 who knew that the golden eggs that you find inside Salazar's castle are actually the most powerful weapon in the game, albeit only in one specific yet highly difficult encounter. Throwing one at Salazar in his mutated form will knock off about 70% of his health, so ergo 2 should do the trick. This method is the perfect solution for people who don't want to bother with Salazar's nonsense and want to skip to his death as quickly as possible, but unfortunately most people sell the eggs to the merchant for some extra cash, depriving themselves of the chance to experience the glory of instantly finishing this stage. What's even more disappointing is that you're probably going to be well equipped enough by the latter stages of the game to not need to sell the eggs anyway. You're better off keeping them until the boss fight specifically, so don't ruin your fun by getting rid of them. Number 8. Peanuts, Super Auto Pets. Super Auto Pets is an auto battler in which you compose a team out of emoji animals with different abilities and then pit them against other players. On top of the unique powers of your pets, the game also provides you with a number of food items that range from situationally useful to complete game changers. One of them is the Peanut perk that gives your pets the ability to instantly knock out their opponents regardless of how many health points they have. The item cannot be normally given to any pets because, as we've established, everything in this game clearly has a peanut allergy. However, the scorpions you can buy at tier 5 of the game obtain the peanut effect automatically after being purchased. This makes them incredibly powerful, but if you're new to the game, chances are you'll mess up their potential with one simple oversight. After purchasing the scorpion, it feels tempting to give it an item to help it in battle. This, however, overrides the peanut item it already has, rendering your one-hit killing machine kinda useless. The mistake is surprisingly common along new Super Auto Pets players, because it's not like you're going to be checking for items on everything you purchase. So if you feel like picking up the game, just remember that your scorpions are fine as they are, and they don't need any assistance. Number 7. Enchanted Weapons, The Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim. The interesting thing about Skyrim is that the most powerful weapons of the game are those that you can create yourself. The smithing and enchanting mechanics provide you with means of producing and customizing items that outdo even the legendary weaponry you find in quests. But this said, if you're not careful, you might mess up the process and prevent your project from reaching its full potential. Unless your character has maxed out their enchanting and blacksmithing skills, you want to upgrade your crafted items in a very specific order. This is because of a mechanic that prevents you from improving already enchanted weapons and lets you purchase a necessary perk at level 60 smithing. If you enchant the crafted weapon first and then bring it to a grindstone without the perk, you won't be able to improve it to make it deal more damage. If you do it the other way around, however, the game won't see a problem and you'll be able to make the most of the system. Why this mechanic is in the game is anyone's guess, but whatever the case may be, it's important that you don't let it ruin your crafting process. Number 6. Excalibur, Sunset Overdrive. The arsenal of your character in Sunset Overdrive is full of strong and kind of ridiculous weaponry. You can shoot bowling balls of vinyl or explode mutated monsters with a propane tank launcher. However, none of your weapons come even remotely close to the overpowered craziness that is the Excalibur, a legendary sword that your character crafts inside a nuclear reactor in order to impress their friend. The Excalibur is easily the strongest weapon in the game thanks to its devastating blast attacks, life-stealing damage, and the sheer range of destruction that each of its strikes can inflict. Unfortunately, the sword can only be used in one mission. After you gift it to Esperanza, she throws it away and breaks it, making it lose all of its awesome powers. So for this reason, if you want to have some fun with the sword and maybe even do some challenges with it, you best stall finishing the mission as much as you need to. It's simply too good to be ruined like this. Number 5. Skippy Cyberpunk 2077. One of Cyberpunk 2077's most powerful and fun weapons is Skippy, a sassy talking gun with a hologram of a cartoon bullet for an avatar. What makes Skippy a destructive powerhouse is a secret mechanic called smart targeting, which allows the weapon to automatically aim at its user's preferred targets. However, ironically, this mechanic can make Skippy virtually useless. You see, Skippy's smart targeting comes in two modes: Stone Cold Killer, which automatically headshots your opponents, and Puppy Loving Pacifist, which focuses instead on limbs. Which mode Skippy activates is dependent on which body parts you shoot the most. Skippy tallies up how many enemies you kill or incapacitate, and whichever number reaches 50 first determines which mode activates. The catch is that being a sassy little so-and-so, Skippy's decision is of course a reverse of whatever number is higher, meaning that if you want an automatic headshot machine, you'll have to prioritize incapacitation over kills. Otherwise, Skippy will switch to a permanent pacifist mode and waste all of your bullets shooting legs and arms. And this is why we don't give weapons a personality. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Number 4. The Sword of Cain Total War Warhammer 2. The Sword of Cain is a legendary blade of the Warhammer universe's god of war and murder, Cain, which makes an appearance in the second installment of the Total War Warhammer series. The sword is infused with a curse that makes its user incredibly powerful in battle, giving them a huge buff to their damage and access to a devastating fire spell, but it's a curse, so in exchange it also lowers your faction's stability. The trade-off might sound good at first, but if you're not careful, the Sword of Cain can very quickly turn from one of the best items in the game into the worst item to ever spite your entire playthrough. The reason for this is that the sword's curse increases over time, and while at first its public order penalty isn't too great, it rises to values that will create waves of rebellion within your faction, destroying it from within. The only way to get rid of the curse at that point is to let the sword's wielder die in battle, so if you don't want to ruin your campaign, make sure to change the weapon's owner frequently, or simply don't pick it up in the first place. Number 3. The Vengeful True Sun God Bloons Tower Defense 6. Bloons Tower Defense 6 is one of the most deceptive games out there. On the surface, it looks like a cutesy tower defense game about monkeys popping balloons with darts, as you do. In terms of its gameplay, however, it's an intense arms race where you take on a horde of helium-filled monsters by hiring ninjas, tanks, helicopter pilots, and finally, an actual god. As you do. Upgrading your units to crazier and more powerful assets is a huge part of Bloons 6, and the most powerful weapon at your disposal is the aforementioned Sun God, a giant monkey that can wipe all balloons on the map out with one ray of light. Except that's not actually true. The de facto strongest unit is a variant of the Sun God called the Vengeful True Sun God, but most players won't even know of its existence because spawning it is a multi-layered process of upgrades and sacrifices, where even the tiniest mistake on the way will turn your potential mega weapon into just a regular True Sun God instead of the vengeful variant. It's difficult to do even when you're following a guide, which is why so many people in the games community can relate to the pain of accidentally ruining your chance at ultimate power. Number 2. The Vest of Soul Rejuvenation Baldur's Gate 3. Given the amount of content and detail in Baldur's Gate 3, it shouldn't come as a surprise that it can be pretty easy to miss some things. In many cases, not realizing something can even lead to some pretty unfortunate consequences, as is the case with the Vest of Soul Rejuvenation. The vest is a special light armor that's sold at the Sorcerer's Sundries in the lower city district of Baldur's Gate. It's one of the best pieces of armor for monk characters thanks to its bonus to armor class and the ability to heal its user. But if you're too hasty, it might disappear from your life before it's actually ever entered it. If you manage to keep Roland, the tiefling mage from Act 1, alive all the way to Act 3, the wizard will be selling the vest alongside other rare items items. This in itself is not a bad thing, but once you kill his master, Roland will leave his post and all of the items he's selling will no longer be available for purchase. For this reason, if you want to get the vest, you need to buy it or steal it before confronting Roland's master. Otherwise, you can kiss your perfect monk goodbye. And number 1, the Greatsword of Artemis, Dark Souls. Two things are certain in the life of a Dark Souls player: death and an utter lack of information about what the hell is going on around you. Since everything from story to gameplay mechanics is explained to you via context clues, it's easy to miss out on a lot of things throughout the Soulsborne series. In the case of the Greatsword of Artemis, one of the best weapons in the original Dark Souls, it can even make you fail to upgrade it to its full potential. Artemis' sword comes in 3 variants: the broken hilt one, the cursed one, and the regular true version where the curse is lifted. The uncursed version is actually the final form of the weapon and should technically be the strongest, but depending on your build, removing the curse can actually irreversibly ruin it. This is because the cursed greatsword deals pure physical damage, whereas the regular one does split physical and magical, and so requires you to scale it with strength, dexterity, intelligence, and faith, instead of just the first two like the cursed variant. Of course, leveling your character is a personal preference, but if you went with a pure physical build and then ascended Artemis' blade thinking it would be even better, you've unknowingly made your strongest weapon weaker and can't really go back. And all of this happens because Dark Souls is allergic to providing people with basic descriptions. Come on now.